gone over so many times the simplicity, the simple things that we can do. But it's nonetheless true. And a few of you in the room are a little hard-headed as I am. So we hardheads learn by repetition.
That's right.
Many rods.
You know, recently this message, this has just been in my heart and been reminded of, listened to it again recently. Hide no more, from the story of Gideon and how he was hiding. We know that story.
Right.
But the things that the Lord spoke in this message reminds me that I can't shrink back from feeling less than what God has called me to be,
Right.
but to understand that in Him I'm somebody going
Amen.
somewhere,
Amen.
and that it's
Right.
false humility to say I am nothing and I can do nothing and leave it there. It is true if He takes His hand off of me, but He chooses to keep His hand on me.
Right. Amen. Amen. Hallelujah.
As I allow Him to help me keep my heart humble.
Right. Amen.
So I must remember to not hide from following through with what He's putting on in my heart, even when it gets a little scary to my natural
Right.
and flesh, to my natural flesh. When I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. Don't hide, man.
A little.
Don't hide. And so, you're just putting these messages in your car, you're listening, you're podcasting someone else, or you're listening to worship. I mean, you're just mixing it up, and the word's coming in, you're reading your word. Taking time with Him before you go to bed. You're just practical
Amen.
things of letting Him clean this mind out.
Right.
Because as the word comes in, it's just, I've said before, it's like a wash rag.
Right.
When you put the word and the spirit together, the word, without mixing with the Holy Spirit that inspired it, coming from the Father's heart, the author, you just take the word. Outside of that, it can become like the law to actually make us feel condemnation.
Right.
But when you bring the Word and the Spirit together, then the Word is brought to us, and yes, it challenges us, it grows us, but with the water on the rag, soaking it up, it's a nice, it's a nice cleaning process.
That's right.
Sometimes, yes, it's a little uncomfortable, but it doesn't, there's not a beating that goes on.
Right.
God doesn't beat His kids.
That's right.
I know all of your kids are perfect, but there's been times with my three boys I've wanted.
They need to be beat. Mine do.
And the Bible does say, spare the rod, spoil the child, so
Ben doesn't.
not politically correct, but still the truth in 2018.
Right.
And so, just, I have to be practical at renewing my mind. If we're not gonna follow Him thoroughly and follow through. We will not be intentional,
Right.
not to the level that God is calling us to.
Right.
I won't be, you won't be. But as we allow Him to help us to intentionally renew our mind, and we continue to become changed people, we will follow through. We will follow Him thoroughly. And we will be amazed if Jesus tarries His coming and it rolls over to 2019, we look back at 2018, we will be blown away at how God used
Right.
our lives,
Amen.
used this local body, used Dream Nations, used my tribe to affect the world. We will be amazed. I'm trying to hurry. Verse 3. Watch this. Because of the privilege and authority that God has given me, I give each of you this warning. This is Paul writing. And so he's telling them, because of the privilege and authority that God has placed within me as an apostle of Christ. And, of course, Paul being used of the Holy Spirit to write more books of the Bible than any other man. God gave him a great level of authority. He says, I give to you this warning. And I think right there we should stop and say, whoa. He's talking to the church.
Right.
So we need to hear this warning. Don't think you are better than you really are.
Right.
Be honest in your evaluation of yourself. Again, this is not about condemnation. But it's about being honest in evaluating where we're at and who we are.
Right.
Be honest in evaluation of yourselves, measuring yourselves by the faith God has given us. Notice, he doesn't say measure yourself by your neighbor, by your husband or your wife, or somebody else in church, or some other Christian that you rub shoulders with. Because you know what who we usually choose to pick to measure ourselves with? People that are following him in a less serious, dedicated place than we are.